So you're starting on your back. In this class you've got options to use a mini ball and a band here and there. Don't worry too much if you don't have mini ball or band. You can still do the same work without those props. You're starting on your back with your legs bent and the soles of the feet on the floor. Just whilst you're organising yourself, head cushion or not, get a sense of what sort of imprint you're leaving in the ground, starting with the back of the head, moving into the back of the blades, lower ribs. How does that feel? As always, you're going to pay particular attention to your pelvis. In that same way as in, you're not trying to make it feel symmetrical or be straight from here, you're just noticing where you initially start. And then the soles of the feet, notice how they are with their last point of contact with the floor. Take a little snapshot, particularly of where your pelvis is, because we're actually going to start the session on the ball with your clock. So pelvic clock, the ball comes underneath the pelvis. You rest your pelvis down, and again, no ball, no problem. You can still do the same work with the pelvis still resting on the floor. And we're going to start with your clock just by tilting the pelvis forwards and back. So tilting towards the ribs and tilting away from the ribs. And this is really to ensure that the ball is in a position enough where you do feel you can actually move the pelvis. The movements forward and back may not feel as big as each other, but if you do feel really stunted in one direction, it could be that you just need to move the ball up or down a little just to ensure that it is supporting the middle of the pelvis, right in the centre of the pelvis there. Notice as you're rocking towards and away from the ribs how you open through the front of the hips in one direction, and then there's a bigger crease that you're looking to find and a bigger fold in the other direction. So if you're sure that the ball is supporting the centre of the pelvis, you're going to stop in the centre there, and you're going to start to tilt the pelvis from side to side here. It's the same idea as you may have done before, with that thought of knees are still, well, they're certainly not moving side to side. You can think of dropping down towards the mat with the back of the hips still, but you also might notice that with the ball supporting, the pelvis feels a little bit more like it's rocking, swaying, even swinging side to side. After you've done these last few, and it's really just for you to sense, is the ball right in the centre of the pelvis and giving me that opportunity to tilt side to side. You're going to settle the pelvis back in the middle, and then go back to your tilting towards the rib cage, and you're going to imagine there's a dial on the front of the pelvis, and this direction would be tilting the pelvis to 6 o'clock. When you tilt the pelvis away next, imagine that on the dial of the clock there, you're now tilting the pelvis to 12 o'clock. So your north and your south become 6 and 12. And you can do that a few more times, thinking about the clock face just resting on the front of the pelvis. 6 towards the ribs, and 12 becomes you're away from the ribs. After you've done those last two and just sort of secured those directions by numbers, bring the pelvis into the centre, and now when you drop down to the right side, you're really tilting the pelvis to 3 o'clock. Come back to centre. As you drop the pelvis to the left side, you're going to rename that 9 o'clock. You still want to be thinking about stillness of the knees, not moving side to side, but you're really using more of a numeral process to get you from side to side. So 3 o'clock, right hip bone drops down, 9 o'clock, left hip bone drops down. And you might have already noticed that with the pelvis swinging to these sides of the clock face, there's not really much of a where is the centre. You're bypassing through a centre. And you're going to take that bypassing through a centre, or not really obviously stopping in the centre, and start to tilt the pelvis around all 4 points of the clock face. We're going to start by tilting the pelvis towards 6 o'clock. So that's towards your ribs. And rather than coming over the centre of the pelvis, you're going to drop down into the left hand hip, which is your 9 o'clock. And skirt around the edges of the dial. That idea is going to continue in the same direction until the pelvis is tilted towards your 12 o'clock, and all the way around some more until you're 3. So you've made a whole circular movement, picturing the circular dial on the front of the clock taking you from 6 to 9 to 12 and to 3. Now, you might feel that that's quite exaggerated to begin with, and in actual fact, it doesn't need to be that large. So you could begin to make the movement smaller, 3 to 6 to 9 to 12. Notice how your ribs react. Notice how the back of the head reacts as well. Nice and relaxed through the chin, but notice it has a relative movement. Now if you pause somewhere in the centre, and it doesn't matter where you got to, you're going to do that same circular motion but go in the opposite direction. I tend to always start in 6. So tilt towards 6 and then go to 3 from there, to 12, over to 9, and then back to 6, and so on. And it's a little bit like your sacrum is the pivot of a wobble board, and the front of the pelvis is the wobble board. And you're tilting on that axis all the way round. Again, your movement could be much smaller than mine is, but know that from it, you're getting some reset through the lower back. You're certainly getting some mobility. You're freeing up any tension. And as well as the lower back, you're also getting that same through the front of the hips as well. So hip flexors, tops of thighs. When you've finished, and again, it doesn't matter where you get to, you're going to bring the pelvis back into its centre position. From there, just stand into your feet, take the ball away and lower your hips down towards the floor. And if you have used the ball for that sequence, it's a bit like coming off a foam roller. You suddenly get this heightened awareness of where the sacrum is. Feels quite firmly dropped into the floor. You definitely know that that is your pelvis, and anything higher up becomes your lower back. And you're going to use that as we come into leg raises and some reverse leg raises today. So as you exhale, you're going to stand down into one foot and float one knee. Inhale with your leg raised. Are you in the middle of your clock? Exhale to put the leg back down again. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, down to come up. Inhale when you're up there, and exhale to return the leg back down again. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, down to float. And you can think about the ribs dropping down a little, heaviness into the floor, to give you that feeling of something is grounded for something to lift each time. Exhaling down to lift, and you can move this at your own pace. Breath in when you're up there, but you're continuously questioning, and I've managed to stay in the middle of my clock throughout the whole movement. Can I feel the sacrum firmly grounded, firmly connected down into the floor as I'm lifting and lowering. The next time you take one leg up towards the ceiling, you're going to keep it up there. Again, depending on how your lower back responds here, as you breathe out, use your torso, a little bit of the arms, back of the head drops down into the floor and the other leg floats up. Now if there's no, history of anything in the lower back, if it feels really nice and loose and off the back of pelvic clock, then you could stay in a neutral. Know that it's really challenging if you're right spot on in that neutral position, and you might feel that you become a little bit grippy in the fronts of the thighs. If that's you, but you'd really like to give the neutral idea a go, then relax your shins and notice what happens. If it doesn't feel so right for you, any sort of scoliosis or lower back pain, or it feels too strained through the fronts of the abdominals, then definitely just tilt very slightly to number 6, and you might find altogether that's a much better position for you to be in. Otherwise, whatever your choice, you're going to start to reverse these legs. So as you breathe out, one leg moves away from you, and as you breathe in, that leg floats back up to its starting position. So choose a lower back position that's going to suit you. What I'd like you to all prevent doing is actually putting the foot on the floor. So you breathe out, one leg moves away from you, and you breathe in to bring the leg up. This is not a scissoring action. This is still single legs. The breath pattern is slightly different to the reverse version, the original version that you've done. You'll breathe out for one leg to move away from you. Stay active. Don't touch the floor. It's not about touching the floor. Inhale, leg comes back up again. That's it. Exhale, one leg moves away. And inhale to return. Last one, exhaling and inhaling. From there, you're going to bring your feet separately down onto the floor. I'm going to come into chest lift first. I'm going to bring my feet together and do a quick toes apart, heels into line. So I know I've definitely found my legs next to each other. Interlace your fingers and take them behind your head. If you've been on a cushion, probably don't need that there anymore. Now, can you do this in the middle of your clock? So you'll breathe out. You'll lengthen, you'll nod your chin to your chest. You're trying to soften through the ribs, but could you maintain that feeling of being straight through the center of the sacrum? Inhale to lay yourself back down each time. It's super challenging, but what it ensures is that you are, in fact, using upper thoracic. You're chest lifting, you're using middle and upper thoracic, and you're not using your lower back or too much of these hip flexors to bring you up into that curl up. Inhale to lay yourself back down again. So breathing out, notice what you're resting on, and breathing in to lay down. You'll do 2 more of these. Just checking in with that clock each time you curl up. Inhale to lay yourself back down again. And last one, exhaling and inhaling. Arms come down beside you now, and we're going to come into bridging. As you breathe out, stand down into your feet and hover your pelvis. It's the miniest of tilts to number 6 there. It's really super mini as you peel the spine away from the floor. You're really open through the front of the hips. Inhale when you're up, and as you exhale, heavy through the eye sockets, back of head, throat, upper chest. Really spread the ribs as you widen your sit bones and return. And again, it's a mini tilt to 6 before you return. You almost want to feel that you return in the middle of your clock rather than over articulating through the lower back. Exhale, feet go down to stand up. mini tilt to get going, but then you know you want that openness in the hips. So once the pelvis is off, absolutely continue to turn the dial towards the sides there. Inhale up at the top of your bridge, and then exhale to come back down again. If you wanted to and you had the ball available, really good way of figuring out whether you're using the big toes sufficiently enough is to place the ball in between the knees. And take a breath in. As you breathe out, stand down into those feet once more to hover the pelvis. Tiny, tiny movement to 6, but more importantly, you're trying to create some length here. You're reaching your knees forward. Now, if you notice that you lose contact with the ball, then definitely you need to apply. Otherwise, just ignore the balls there. It's going to bring you into a midline of such anyway. Heavy through the back of the head, heavy through the throat and the jaw, wide through the ribs and the waist. And you can see, if I keep my arms raised, that there's really barely any flexion through the lower back. And really the reason why that flexion's gone is because when it's there, it's really the only thing that flexes. There's only one segment really that gets a big flexion there, and everything else is redundant. So if you take that segment out of the bridging, then actually everything gets more of an even opening to take you all the way back up there. Notice if you've lost contact, connect on the ball a little bit more, take a breath in, standing firmly into the shoulder blades, and as you breathe out, you're going to bring yourself all the way back down again. This is your last one to return. Feel free to do extras, feel free to move at your own pace if you want to. Ball comes away. I'm going to come into book openings now. So I'm going to grab a head cushion. Cushion off the sofa will do, rolled up towel will do, rolled up edge of mat will do. Arms are straight out in front of you, and recall the back of the head and the back of the body connections. And as you breathe out, you're going to open your top arm up towards the ceiling. Again, there's a sense of heaviness in the back of the head here as you open. Right at the end of the rotation, you're going to allow that top hip to drop back. And then as you breathe out to return, the top hip will move forwards first to bring you all the way around to your closed position. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, opening the top arm. Think about your side seam, armpit downwards, and then the top hip can rock back. Breath in when you're there, and breath out. Leading back with your front pocket of your top hip to bring yourself back to closed. Exhale to open. Hip could slide back if it wanted to. Breath in when you're there, nudging and delay so you get more of a feeling of lengthening through the tissue of the chest and the bicep if you can. And as long as you use your breath out to get yourself back there, you are supported. You will get some activity through the side abdominals for sure to get you back here. This will be your last one. And you come back to your closed position. Once you're back, you're going to take yourself over to the other side and do the same thing. Organise yourselves well. Head's resting on the front of the cushion. You want some cushion to roll onto, remember. And then as you breathe out, opening the arm to the ceiling, keeping coming round until you absolutely have to use that lower half of the spine to rotate more. And then as you breathe out, send that hip bone forwards to come back. Bring yourself back to your closed position. Moving on your inhale, just as a reminder, side seam from the armpit could keep dropping round here, and then hip. Inhale, exhale, hip moves forwards. Exhale to open. And exhale to close. Two more, breathing out. Side seam, long through the bicep, creating even more length through that palm to inner elbow, bicep, chest and shoulder as you come back. Use your breath. And last one, breathing out. Inhale when you're open. Exhale to return back to laying on your side. From here we're going to come up into a seated position, and we're going to just recap crisscross. I haven't done it for a while, certainly in classwork. Some of you may not have done it at all. So you're in a seated position, long sit. Of course you could soften these knees as always if you wanted to. You're going to interlace your fingers and take them behind your head. You start to flex here. It's a bit like you would for a spine stretch. So you want a feeling of being up and over. You'll nod your chin to your chest and you're softening there and drawing your front ribs away. But then you also add some rotation. Can you think about the front left rib cage trying to get closer to the front right hip bone? Opposite elbow is opening wide. So this one opening wide, and then you'll inhale and bring yourself back up to center. Breathe out, create some length. The more length you create, the more you can feel that you could draw the ribs in and dive over. Front right ribs now, coming across to this left hip bone, and you're going to really open that elbow as much as you can. I am returning to a center position as I breathe in to come up, but that's only because I know that actually when we're in our crisscross flexed position, there isn't a coming back up at all. You don't lay down in between. So what you'll eventually do is come through this middle point and rotate yourself up into the opposite direction each time. So just covering it, think about shortening front ribs to front left hip bone, and then inhale to bring yourself all the way back up again. So you just need to remember that. Grab your ball if you've got one, because we're going to come into roll down, rolling up in an assisted way, and then bring that into 100. So you're going to sit with your legs bent, ball between the knees if you want to. As you breathe out, your feet are going to go downwards, big toes firing forwards. Start to tilt your clock to number 6, and you keep tilting, keep tilting, keep tilting. You're feeling that openness through the front of the hips. Balls of the feet draw towards you just when you need them, and you're on your back. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, backs of the legs go forward, a fraction ahead of chin nodding to chest, to roll yourself all the way back up again. Now if you haven't done much of this, then it's just a mini version. You'll come back to say here, and then you'll bring yourself all the way back up. But you can still get a feeling of shoulder blades moving away from each other, elbows wide. But if you wouldn't usually come all the way down because you're either avoiding flexion in the neck or lower back, then please do what you'd normally do. Elbows wide. Certainly listening in to see how it feels for you. This time when we roll down, we're going to come into our 100. And it's a nicer way of getting there because you're already flexed. You're already pretty deeply connected through the front of the body. And it's a question of using your arms to try and keep you still connected through the front of the body. And then you're going to carefully let go of the legs and reach the arms forward. And you've got your inhale for 5 and your exhale for 5. You're still thinking about the elbows being wide in a sense because you want the shoulder blades to go with. In and out. Of course you could have bent legs instead. In and out. In and out. If you want to really feel that deeper connection, you could be drawing your inner knees towards the ball. In and out. In and out. In and out. Last 10. And out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Knees into chest. Lay your body ball down. You can take the ball away and feet will come separately down onto your mat. So from there, coming into side to side, as you breathe out, sway your legs over to one side. Inhale when you're there and exhale to return. Breath in. As you breathe out, swaying the legs over. Inhale when you're there and exhale to return. Breath out. Inhale and breath out. After you've done this last one, if you've got a band, you're going to reach for your band and you're going to stirrup up your left foot. Right leg is going to go straight and long on the mat out in front of you. And what we're going to do here is leg circles on the left into side kick, supported by the mini ball on the right. So you're using your left leg throughout. Exhale, leg comes across the body to the right, goes downwards and out to the left, and you pause when you're back to the ceiling. Across the body, and down and out, and back up towards the ceiling. Across, down, out and around. Last one. Pause when you're back up towards the ceiling, leg goes out to the left. You're going to do 4 circles in this direction. Exhaling as you go. And after you've done this last one, the bands can come off. You're going to come to lay on your right side so that you're still using the same leg. And the ball is going to come underneath your waist. Interlace your fingers and take them behind your head. Feet move away from each other. And then you've got your inhale swinging your leg forward and your exhale swooping your leg back. Breath in to swing long and forwards. Breath out to swoop on back. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. And last one, breath in and breath out. From there you can rest down, quickly move your ball out of the way if you used it. Band's going to come round the right foot and you're going to do the same thing. So elbows down on the floor. As you breathe out, leg goes across the body to your left, down and out to the right, pausing when you're back up towards the ceiling, across the body, down and out to the right, pausing when you're back up there. 4 in total, so you could be moving slower or quicker. Just know that there's 4 all together in each direction at the moment. It goes away from your centre, down and around and up, out to the side, down and around and up. And then from there you're going to do side kick with the right, which means that you're going to be laying on your left side. Ball's going to come quite low. Interlace your fingers and take them behind your head. And then you're going to flex the ankles, move the feet away from each other. Inhale, swing your leg forward, and exhale, swooping the leg back. And breath in and breath out. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Last one. Inhaling and exhaling. From there you're going to take your ball away and come into side lying. Doesn't matter which side you do first. You could stay facing that side if you wanted to. Knees together, knees move away from each other. You'll inhale to swing your leg forward and exhale to swing it away. Breath in to swing forwards and out to swing back. We're just going to do 2 more of these. Noticing how light the leg feels having done the straight leg version. And then as your leg comes to the back, it's going to stay to the back, and you've got your transition into seated. Have your legs out in front of you if you'd prefer. Breath in to lift and breath out to bend. Breath in when you're over here and breath out to bring yourself back. Inhale to lift and exhale to take yourself over. Breath in when you're there and breath out to bring yourself all the way back. Inhaling and exhaling. Breath in and breath out. Last one. Lots of shoulder, lots of length. And bring yourself upright into side lying on the other side. Knees bent, well organised. Hand on your hip. Part your knees when you feel you're ready. Inhale to swing yourself forward and exhale to swoop back. Breath in and breath out. Inhale and exhale. Last one. Light through the leg. Once your leg comes back there, it's going to stay back, and you're going to push up and bring yourself up into your Z sit. Take a breath in, inhaling as you do so, and exhaling to take you over to the side. Inhale in your side bend, and exhale to bring yourself all the way back up again. Breath in to come upwards, and breath out to take you over. Inhale when you're there, and exhale to bring you all the way back up again. Inhaling and exhaling. Breath in when you're here, breath out to come back. Last one. Inhale and exhale. Inhale when you're here, and exhale to come back. We're now going to go into a sequence of abdominal work. We're going to come into one assisted roll down, come into single leg stretch. Stay up there to come into single straight leg stretch, so your scissors. And then, just in case you thought I might have forgotten, we're going to also come straight into crisscross, so 3 abdominals, one after the other. If you're not sure, you could cut the reps short. We're going to do 8 of each. You could do 4, you could do 6. See how you go. If it feels like it's too much strain in your neck, then please put your head down. You could continue with the legs, but you just want to be really wary of head being down. Legs might need to be a bit closer to you as you move. So as you breathe out, their feet go down into the floor. Big toes are firing forwards, and you're going to start to roll yourself down. You're coming all the way to bottom ribs, so just feet when you need them. And you sense that your bottom ribs are pretty close to the floor. Thighs will keep on coming. And then you're going to come into your single leg stretch, so you're going to push up to the ceiling with that leg there, and you exhale to switch for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. The leg you brought in is the leg that's going to reach up straight. Just sort of send the back of that thigh away from you. And you exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This knee bends in, interlace your fingers and rotate yourself round to that knee. So think about that flexed position that you're going to try and maintain. And 2, elbow opens wide. And 4, rib to opposite hip bone. 6 and 7. Last one, 8. Hold your knees into your chest. Lay yourself down and bring your feet separately down onto the floor. From there, you're going to come over and lay on your front. Once you're over here, we're going to come into a goalpost position. You could rest your forehead on a head cushion if you wanted to, or you could have your head slightly hovered from the mat throughout. Elbow to elbow is one straight line. Walk your legs away from your pelvis. You'll take a breath in here, and as you do so, create some length through the neck and the crown. Over the forehead, widen the collarbones. Sternum wants to feel like it's pushing forwards and upwards. Exhale to come all the way back down again. Breath in, lengthen. Sternum forwards and upwards. Breath out to return. So just for now, the elbows are staying on the floor. And in fact, lengthening, hovering, widening, coming up. You could stay with this version if you wanted to. Are you sensing the back of the body and the upper part of your body? So upper spine, shoulder blades. And then you're going to progress the movement if you want to. You'll take a breath in, create some length, still with the width. You're going to allow the elbows to begin to leave the floor. Feel that you really pull long between your navel and your sternum, center of chest. And then there's a feeling of pulling the head and the chest back forwards and through the arms. You breathe in to lengthen, back of the head, sternum and chest. Definitely want to bypass there because it's what has enabled you to extend, and then feel like you claw the floor back and send your chest forward to bring yourself all the way back down again. And breath in to lengthen. Chest forwards and up, sternum forwards and up. Elbows leave just when they're needed to leave. And then you bring yourself all the way back down again. Once you're down, you're going to bring your head onto your hands. You're going to do single leg kick. Reach one leg long and away from you. Thigh bone parallel as you fold in there. Reach that leg long once more and rest it down. So your single leg kick has single leg extension, and then there's a reluctant fold of the knee. You actually want to feel like, rather than bending, you're actually lengthening the front of the leg. So reach. Now, could your front of your thigh be longer as you fold that leg in? Reach the leg away and rest down. If it helps, sometimes you can get a little bit crampy through the calves. If it helps, you're lengthening your calves here if you do it with a flexed position. But we haven't really done it like that in class for a while. It used to be our old version. You could do it now if you wanted to, depending on how your lower leg's feeling. The last couple of these. Really reaching the kneecap away from you as you bend, again with the idea of try and get longer through the thigh bone and the shin bone and the front of the foot as I reach away and rest down. From there, you're going to come onto the ball for darts, and it's not for everyone. Comes underneath the sternum, and the arms are going to be straight. If you are on the ball and you're noticing that your lower back curve is suddenly much bigger, then if you consider your clock laying here on your back, you want to tilt the pelvis to 6 o'clock. And you're in 6 o'clock and you perhaps feel super light in 3 and 9 as well, with you being elevated in the upper body. The arms are beside you. I actually quite like to be super rounded here, because then it really feels large and much more exaggerated as I inhale and lengthen the crown of the head away. Our head has to come to a hover then, and I'll widen through the collarbones. I'm still tilting my pelvis towards 6 as much as I possibly can. I'm going to send my sternum forwards and upwards, and then I'll exhale to bring myself all the way back down again. So there is a slight feeling as I inhale and get longer and then widen. There's a slight feeling that I'm pushing the air of the ball forwards to the front of the ball. I'm still tilting here, otherwise I would definitely hang in my own lower back. Do a couple of more of these. Inhaling, widening. It's really obvious if you have started super rounded over the ball there. And exhale to return. And then last one, breathing in, creating length in 2 directions. Tilted my clock very slightly. I'm also light in 3 and 9. I feel that that's definitely different for me. And then exhale to come back down again. From there, I'm going to get rid of the ball and come into a child's pose. You could also come onto your back, as you all know. Now bring your knees into your chest. And I'm looking to be as rounded as I can be. Not only through the upper spine, and that sternum has been forward and up, so it needs to feel like it's softening back down in towards me, but also middle and lower back. You definitely want to feel that you're rounded somehow. Even hands and knees and a little bit of cat would work also. Just notice how that feels for you. And then what you're going to do just to finish is you're going to come up to stand. Pop the ball between the ankles if you have the ball, and we're going to roll down and walk into a plank. So moving myself as far back as I can. Narrow parallel, ball just placed between the ankles there. I'm standing tall, my arms are relaxed beside me. As you breathe out, nod your chin to your chest, really relax through that upper spine, let go. Just notice the heaviness of the hands and the head. Particularly the head, you're going to allow a little bit of traction through the neck if you can let go there. Notice how it feels spinally through the body as you're pouring yourself forwards. Stay in your spine, stay with the idea of creating space, and soften your knees if you need to. Take a breath in when you're here, and as you breathe out, even if your legs are straight, you could send the heels down into the floor as the navel lifts up, and begin to unravel yourself all the way back up to your standing position. Walk out into a plank on this one, so as you exhale, nod, let go, dangle, really relaxed. Each segment just pulls away from each segment the lower you come. Stay slightly lifted through the navel, almost like you're pouring your waist out of your lower back out of your hips. And then if you want to, you're going to walk forward onto your hands. That would be 1, 2, 3. You're going to stand strong in your plank position, and then you'll send your heels backwards and downwards as you return. Inhaling at the bottom, exhaling, simultaneous heels down, navel up. And also with that heels down, you've also got slight straightening of your legs if they were bent. This will be your last one, exhaling, chin to chest. Let go. Unheld. Super relaxed in the jaw, and then you know that if you're relaxed in the jaw, you're relaxed in the neck. Heavy, heavy head taking you all the way down there. You could do a push-up here. You could do leg pull also. If you are pushing up, then your elbows are in tight and you push the floor away. And you could do a couple more of those, depending on how it feels for you. Definitely looking at being in your triceps rather than in your biceps. And then your heels reach back and down. Again, if you can, you've got your 1, 2, and then by the time you're back, you're on your 3, and you could soften your knees. Entirely different stretch there. As you exhale, heels down, legs straight, navel lifts. Dangle, dangle, let go. Try not to hold and control there through the upper spine, giving you a sense of space to return back to. And there we have it. Well done, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.